When you find a real estate platform that aligns everyone in the entire company financially by making us real estate agents owners, so when the average agent wins, everyone wins, that's the secret to success. And when you surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurial people who absolutely love what they do, they love serving people, they love God and life, and you put yourself in an environment of high energy, high producing, positive people every day, you can't help but succeed in business and life. We are changing the real estate industry and changing real estate agents' lives. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Forever podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Forever podcast. Excited to be interviewing Dan Lesniak today from Washington, D.C. area. How you doing today, Dan?
I'm doing great. I love that video. Got me all fired up.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm excited to get to know you better. This is really the first time that we've ever gotten together. I've known your wife, Carrie Shell, for many years because we were in the same coaching program way back in the day. But hey, my Financial Freedom Forever agents that are out there listening, I'm excited to be introducing Dan to you and his background. I'll let him kind of give you more details, but what I understand, Dan, you got into real estate kind of as a side gig, but it went pretty well. And then your first year, so what, 22 million in your first year of real estate, is that correct?
Yeah, I had a pretty good start, to say the least.
yeah, it sounds that way. And then you started a team, had a team about 6 or so with KW, and that's where I guess you met your beautiful wife, Carrie, and understand you guys merged your teams in 2014, or what? Weren't you the fourth highest selling team in the world at that time?
Yeah, we were number 4 in the world when we decided to leave Keller Williams and go independent. And then we had our own independent brokerage. You know, a lot of people use the term teamerage because it was a brokerage just for our team.
Right.
And we did that for almost 9 years. We were one of the largest independents in the Washington, D.C. area and one of the top ranked teams, on all those Real Trends, Washington Street Journal lists, all that good stuff. So.
Well, that's awesome. And then you guys ended up merging over to EXP in 2022, and I know you had about 90 people in your organization before coming over to EXP. Is that correct?
No, the team, we brought over about 40 agents on the team.
40 agents, okay.
And I actually went before Carrie did. I joined in August.
Okay.
And with the intent of bringing her over and all that good stuff. And it took a lot of arm twisting and a lot of conversations. And then, she brought the team over in December, right before the end of the year.
Well, that's awesome. So let's just dig into that a little bit more about your background, your real estate background, and what you've started building, and eventually want to hear, why exactly, what were the biggest factors of having you guys, moving over to EXP after you've had your own personal independent brokerage that was, ranking so high in the industry. So yeah, tell us more of your story, buddy.
Yeah, I got into real estate, like you said, side hustle. It was not something I ever dreamed of doing, or that I don't think any kid when they're young says, I want to grow up and be a real estate agent. Maybe if their parents have a really big team or business already, like maybe, or they might hate it.
Yeah, right.
In that scenario, right? So I did my time in the Navy, 6 years after graduating the Naval Academy. I was on submarines, did business school at Georgetown, and it was kind of all lining up where I would go get this consulting job or something, right? That's what a lot of people with my background end up doing, like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, there's a bunch of others. And this was around 2010, 11 when I finished business school. I was working as a defense contractor, and I thought I'd land this awesome job, making 150 grand a year, traveling 4 days a week, all, whatever. That didn't pan out. It was not a good time to be interviewing. There weren't a lot of companies hiring. This was, if you can remember, a decade ago. We were still in the aftermath of 08, 09 recession. And I kept getting a lot of interviews, but not getting job offers. And I finally asked one of the guys at McKinsey, like, what's wrong? Why, you guys have interviewed me like 3 different rounds, no job offer. And he's like, well, we think operationally, technically you'd be great at it, but we don't know if you have sales skills. So we recommend you go get some experience selling. So I thought, I was buying another house. I had been buying houses since I was 23, using the VA loan, and I would kind of live in them, rent them out, all that kind of stuff. And I thought, okay, I'm just gonna get my real estate license and I'll help a few family and friends and get some sales experience. And then I ended up getting like so much business that I had to tell my boss I quit. So that's how I got into it.
Great start. Get into your first year of real estate, right?
Yeah. So I quit early February that year, and I ended up selling a little over 22 million that first year. Left my brokerage. I started at Century 21. I left there because I was kind of actually asked to leave. I was their top salesperson, and I went out and started a title company. And my broker did not like that, and basically gave me an ultimatum to either disband, the title company or leave. So I left, took a couple agents with me, and went to Keller Williams, and that's where I started to build a team and met Carrie. Within a year, we were engaged, merging our businesses, merging our teams, and like you said in the intro, we built the number 4 team in the world at Keller Williams at the time, before we ended up leaving and starting our own brokerage just down the street here in Arlington.
So how many agents did you guys have on Carrie's team when you guys got together at KW?
I think we had 15 agents, and then when we started there, total between the two of us, and then I think by the time we left, it was closer to 30, and another 10 or 15 on support staff. So when we left and did our own brokerage, like, everyone came with us, no one stayed, and we were at 50 or so total agents plus staff. And I guess over the years we've pretty much stayed, we've grown, but kind of stayed in a range of like 80 to 100 when you add up agents and staff.
Okay. So you started your own independent brokerage with your team and staff, and about how many units or volume were you doing when you had your independent brokerage?
So our peak year, or I shouldn't say peak year, but our highest year yet was 2021. We did about 1,100 units, and I think 740 million. Last year we were down, as most big teams were in 2022, and I think we'll grow a little bit from that this year, and then even more next year, because we're adding on. Since we moved to EXP, we've added a lot of agents to the team. Our recruiting really in the last 3 or 4 months has taken off, both for the team and for just the overall EXP group.
Right. So being like most entrepreneurial, real estate agents, you start off like you did, you start off at a franchise or an independent, eventually start getting your business going, and ultimately always, starting a team is the next step. And then after that is being your own independent brokerage. I was the same. That's kind of, the ultimate goal, right? But of course, you said that you came over to EXP first, and you really saw the opportunity, and it took a little convincing for Carrie. Tell us what you saw of why you would, stop having your own independent brokerage, which is kind of the pinnacle, and move over to EXP.
Yeah, my role in the brokerage really was marketing and recruiting. So I had always done a lot of recruiting. I had talked to 2 or 3 EXP people over the years. Not a ton. Not many people really ever pitched me. So but I had heard about it. I understood revenue share. During COVID, we moved down to Florida for much of the time into one of our Airbnbs, and I got my license down there, started a brokerage, and I just realized how hard it was to expand. And, if you wanted to grow beyond one geographic location
Right.
as an independent, it's very costly. It takes a lot of time, and the profit margins aren't that great. Like, just to hire a brokerage in one state, like, you're going to have like 10, 15 agents just to like cover that person's salary.
Right.
So it's a hard model to expand. And really, I wouldn't want to be if EXP didn't exist, I still don't know if I'd want to be an independent brokerage unless I had a really high producing top sales team. Then there's like a fairly good economic reason for it. Absent of that, though, I think the traditional kind of independent model is really challenging, especially right now. I doubt any of them are making money that's worth even talking about in this market. So I just, all of that collective experience showed me how hard it was to expand. And then when the market contracted, when transactions went down in the middle of 2022, it was just kind of like the perfect storm. I talked to the right person who was making enough to get my attention on revenue share. And
Right.
and I was, what, we've got this coaching business that me and Carrie run. We've got this
Right.
large team. Like, it seems like we could attract a lot of people, and it won't take long to overcome what we'll have to pay, EXP for the team being there, right? Because if you're at almost any other place, any other old model brokerage franchise, EXP is going to save you a lot of money for your team. That's just the bottom line. If you're an independent, though, running a team model like we are, we actually are going to have to pay quite a significant chunk of change to be at EXP. Like, as a mega icon team, the cap is
Right.
4K per agent. So we're paying 4K times 40 agents that we weren't before. So, but I could see in my mind, like, us getting to rev share that would more than cover that, right? And then only grow in the future. So to me, it just seemed like a way to diversify, to have, income not associated with our team, to have income that would be there if the market contracts, right? Because let's imagine you have a bunch of cappers in your organization and the market shrinks, and your average agent in your group or first couple lines, if you will, if they go from 8 million to 5 million, like, guess what? You still got paid out your full
Right.
rev share on that. So it just seemed like a way to diversify geographically, and add revenue that has no expenses associated with it, no liability, no upfront capital. Like, anyone can start their own brokerage, really, basically, at EXP for $145. An $85 a month ongoing expense. It's like nothing, right? This is huge opportunity. And I told Carrie about it, and she's like, absolutely not. EXP feels salesy to me. It feels like it's just all recruiting. And so she actually told me to look at other models, to look at some of the copycat models, because she thought, well, no one's disgusted by these lesser known, copycat models. And so I did that. I looked into those, and I was like, look, these EXP at the end of the day is a revenue share model. And if you're bringing in a lot less revenue and you're a lot smaller, like, you simply can't offer the same benefits, the same amount of rev share. Like, it economically doesn't make sense. Like, at the end of the day, recruiting isn't based on the company. It's based on you and, how people feel about you.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to recruit more because I'm at a company that has a different logo or any of that. So, like, why get paid half as less on rev share? So for me, it was kind of an easy choice. And but I knew it would take some convincing of Carrie, and she'd probably also have to see, like, proof of concept. So, I went to work recruiting, and the first 90 days there, I think I had 35 people onboarded and another 20 or so in the application or whatever in process. And, between that and just her meeting other amazing people at EXP and seeing that it wasn't necessarily just about the money, it was about, for Carrie, forever relationships that people could be on the team, learn from her, benefit from all our leads, all that stuff we do for the people on the team. But when they're ready to go out on their own as an independent kind of team operation, you don't really have a place for them. So it's either they stay with you forever or they become your competitor. This allowed a path for her to stay in relationship with people longer, because if they want to leave the team, they can still be in her EXP group, still get coaching from her, so for her, it was more about like the people she met that made her realize that for team leaders, this is like the next natural step to, be in contact, in relationship with people for a longer time.
And that's just it. I mean, if you're in the real estate business, and especially if you have your own independent brokerage or team, I mean, it's usually somebody's job, organically or not, to be recruiting, to build the team, build the brokerage, right? And that sounds like that was your position there, at the company, or in your own independent brokerage. But I agree with you 100% when you bring on these agents. Maybe they're doing one deal a month. You train them, teach them, coach them, get them up to 4 or 5 deals a month. And it takes 4 or 5 years usually. And then, like you said, once they get to a point where most of their business referrals, and hey, and if they're entrepreneurial minded like you guys, they're ready to start their own team, grow their own independent brokers, and get their next piece of the pie, right? And then they become your competition. And that's where the relationships, I mean, you still have good relationships, but when they're in your town and now you're competing for the same business, it's not as fun when you train your competition, right?
Yeah, which is what you're doing if you're a team leader. And it is funny that you'll hear some people be resistant to the model because they say like, well, I'm not a recruiter. Well, 2 things. Most people at EXP are not. Like, in fact, 80% do not do it. They are just there for the technology, the training, the commission savings, the stock awards, right? Not the rev share. But it's also funny too when you hear a team leader say they're not a recruiter. I'm like, well, where do you get your buyer's agents from? Like, how did you go to the buyer agent tree or something and like pick them off there? Like,
yeah. That's funny how people just got to be open-minded and take a look. And obviously, at first it sounded like, you said Carrie was very resistant, not open to taking a look at the model, but you were, and you dug into it and joined and got things rolling, look from the inside out instead of the outside in. And what did you find out about the collaboration and about the support? And what did you bring? How did you bring it to Carrie for her to actually be open to taking a look at it? And what was kind of the next steps to have her? Because I know there's a lot of broker owners and a lot of team members out there that haven't really looked at it from the inside out. It's pretty hard to do that. But, being husband and wife, you had it obviously a little bit different than me calling somebody about, EXP. How did you get Carrie to really look at it, and what happened when you did?
Yeah, I think for most people, just to kind of like high level, most real estate agents save money instantly by making the move. And a lot of it, especially if they're at one of the uncapped models, and then if they build revenue share, that's just a bonus on the top of it, right? For independent broker owners, I think a lot of people don't want to acknowledge this, but you used to not pay a cap, and now you are. So there might be some expenses you can shed, but if you're an independent broker owner, you obviously know how to recruit. So if you have a vision, a mindset that is more than like a year or 2 at most, the additional benefits of the revenue share and the growth there are going to like far outweigh what, you know, the cap might be for your situation. All right. So if you look out, it makes sense. And I did paint that picture for Carrie of like, hey, in 5 years, if we just been at EXP for the last 8 years, never recruited anyone except to the team, right? And you have, even if you're a great team leader like she is, you have churn. That's part of what happens in this industry, right? Especially on teams, there's churn. If we had just kept like 1 out of every 3 people that left the team at EXP, like this is where we would be. And so she knew that financially it made sense, but that wasn't enough for her. So I just had to keep on introducing her to key leaders and key real estate team leaders at EXP. And when she met with them and just saw how open they were, saw how willing they were to help, even people that weren't, that wouldn't be in the revenue share line, you know, it wasn't like, oh, well, your husband didn't join in some, you know, under me, so I'm not going to talk to you. You know, it was never like that. Everyone was very willing and open. And I think this is one of the things that's overlooked or oversold or undersold at EXP is the collaboration. So the model does a lot of cool stuff, right? When you eliminate like everything in between corporate and the agent, right? There's no regions, there's no franchises, no local broker owners. When you eliminate all of that, it creates tons of efficiencies. It creates tons of savings, right? You get to take advantage of those savings with keeping more of your commission, building revenue share, stock awards. It also does something else though. It gets rid of all of the local politicking that goes on. We definitely saw this in our old brick and mortar that we were at, right? Before we were independent. Like the top agents in the office, it's not like they were like just sitting around the office wanting to collaborate and help their local competition, right? That didn't really happen. The people that hung around the office were the agents that had a lot of time and very little business typically. So this model, I think, kind of breaks down those walls and those silos, and it creates this, you know, there's 88,000 agents now. And really, I think getting rid of the boundaries and the walls makes it so that more top agents are willing to collaborate, share. I mean, I think every week on EXP World, there's like 50 classes, half of which are taught by icon agents. You know, these are the agents in the top 1%. So the collaboration just far exceeded anything we've ever seen. And that's what really, you know, from Carrie's days in coaching programs, she loves getting around top agents and sharing. And that happened, you know, that happens in coaching programs. And this virtual system world that EXP's created, it happens a lot too. And it just took exposing her to the right people to realize that.
Who are a couple of the people, if it's okay to share, that you did connect her with, and like what kind of business did they do? And then what are a couple of things that they said or shared that they didn't have to, like you said, because they're not in your business, they're just at EXP, that really opened up the possibility of Carrie's mind of you guys coming over?
Yeah, so she in October last year, you know, I asked her, hey, do you want to take the kids up to Disney World? And so I kind of tricked her. And and then you know, I arranged for a babysitter one of the nights there, and I was like, oh, by the way, Tim Harris is coming down from North Carolina with his wife Julie, and we're gonna meet with Veronica Figueroa from Orlando. She's one of the largest teams at EXP. You know, I think she had 40 or so agents on her team, so pretty similar size to Carrie. And you know, I think that was one of the most influential meetings she had, was meeting Veronica. And Veronica really told her that, or shared with her how, you know, EXP gave her a way to be in relationship with people when they outgrew the team. And, that made a big impact on Carrie. Just knowing that, hey, when someone wants to go out on their own, there's a natural path for them to do that. And DC is it's kind of a transient area as well. So this is fast forwarding to when she told the team, right, that we were moving in December. She said, before she made the announcement, she said, how many stand up if you think that in the next 10 years you'll still be living in DC. And I think in a room of 60 people, I think less than 10 stood up.
Wow. Right.
And so that, right, not only could they outgrow the team and stay locally, right, and still be in a relationship with us at EXP, but if they wanted to get licensed in a different state, well, they still have a path to be in a relationship with us, and we're going to want to help them go start their own team in that area. So it really for her was about this concept of forever relationships.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you grow your own team, your own independent brokerage, it's kind of your baby, and the people that you've attracted to your team and company, they become your family. You want the best for them. And it's great when you've helped them grow their business to the next level, so they do outgrow you and they can be independent and start their own. But yeah, it severs the financial relationship anyway. And with this model, they can move to any of the 50 states, 9 provinces, or 25 countries we're in, and still stay financially connected to you. So you don't sever that relationship. So I can see that being a big deal for sure. Where do you guys see yourself, Dan, in 5 years from now? I mean, it was interesting how you said when she asked, who's still going to be in the DC area in 10 years, and 10 out of 60 people stood up. That must have been an eyebrow raiser, right? He's like, wow. Well, where do you guys see yourself in 5 years with your entire team and your business?
Yeah, so we want to keep growing the team, keep growing the overall EXP organization. In 5 years, I actually just checked. I have it written down. I have every year, next 5 years, written down how big I want our revenue share organization to be, and in 5 years, 15,000 is the goal.
Okay.
So we want to have 15,000 people in our group, and still have the number one team in the DC area, and really spend more time traveling. I think one of the beautiful things about the EXP model is it can give you time freedom and geographic freedom, right? One of the challenges with a real estate team is, yes, it can give you some financial and time freedom to an extent, still takes a lot of work, and the market's contractions have a whiplash effect on a team for sure. One thing I think it struggles to give people is geographic freedom. And I think this is one of the most beautiful things about the EXP model is not only can it give you complete financial freedom, it can give you geographic freedom. Because once your group really is a certain size, you just have, you don't really have to be in an area like you do to run a team. So
right.
I think that's a huge plus for us. I think Carrie really is gonna want to focus on working with 10, 20 team leaders, probably in that range, and helping them each build big teams in their cities. And I just envision the next 5 years giving us a lot more freedom, a lot more security than if we had not made this move.
And how cool is that? I mean, with your own independent brokerage, when you had, about 50 or so, 50, 60 agents and the staff, et cetera. If I would ask you then, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You could only think about the DC area really without opening up, bricks and mortar and other offices. But before looking at EXP, I'm sure your 5-year goal for your company, it might have been from 50 to 100 or 150 agents, but it surely wasn't going to be 15,000, right?
No. And, a group of 15,000 will, yeah, I mean, that's going to create more revenue for you than like anything you could ever do with an independent brokerage. Not even close. And we did, I think in 2019, 2020, we did think about expanding brick and mortars to like several states, and really just doing it in one area in Florida outside of DC. That was like enough to realize just wasn't worth, the time, effort, and money.
Yeah, I mean,
so this just completely changes how I think, you're able to expand and what you're able to do with the team. Like I think we both envision key leaders on the team, key agents that, sell well on the team. We fully expect many of them to go out and build their own teams with our help.
Right. Yeah. And in the past, they would just leave and you had no financial gain to help them, train your competition. But now you have all the financial gain to help them grow outside of, inside your area and outside your area. So yeah, I agree. It's Glenn Sanford put a heck of a model together, especially for entrepreneurial, business-minded people like yourself that want to scale their business and across multiple borders. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. The other cool thing too is like, I know a lot of people might be listening or watching and be like, yeah, this is great for like a big team like you or a big independent brokerage like you and Carrie. And the really cool thing is like the work I did before the brokerage moved over. Like there are agents in that initial 35 or so that I recruited that have now gone on and like they have 20 people in the group or 25 people in the group, and they're not people that had teams before. And some of them were like one of them was a part-time agent, one of them was a first-year agent on a Remax team, and now in less than 6 months they've got a group of 25, right? So this isn't just like a benefit for the established players, big teams. Like this is something that anyone with a license can do. It's just an incredible model.
Now for the agents, for your producers, your agents, hey, they're 99.9% focused on producing and selling more real estate. How is this model helping those agents?
Yeah. So do you mean on the team or just anyone in particular outside of the team? Or?
Yeah, kind of both. Because there's people out there listening that have their own independent brokerages or their own teams. I want to be able to share with them, how
Sure.
is this model helping people on the team? And then how does it help, any agents because of the model?
Yeah. So if you're at one of the, older model brokers, and you move to this model, your team members are going to have less fees, right? Less caps. So they're going to save money. They're going to keep more of their commission. They're still going to get amazing broker support. In fact, the broker support at EXP, you log on to EXP World, you click on any state. I do this all the time when I'm on Zoom with people. I've never had to wait more than 1 minute to talk to a broker, right? It's quicker. So your people are going to get better support. People just don't realize it. It's way better support than I ever gave people on broker questions as an independent broker owner. So it's way better than that. So I think they're going to save money. They're going to get better support. They're going to get access to, more training, and they're going to get the stock award benefits, and they have the option to go do revenue share, and they don't have to like take their eyes off production to do it. They can, I think anyone that carves out 3 or 4 hours a week and is consistent, I think can build up something within a few years that will replace their sales income. There's no other way to do this in real estate. You can't do it with and I've done all these things I'm about to mention. You can't do it with syndications. You can't do it with Airbnbs. You cannot do it with owning rental property. It just takes too much capital, right? So if you're an agent making $100,000 a year and you want to replace that, right? Well, what would it take so $100,000 on a cash flowing rental property is gonna, if you invest if you want to maximize cash flow, so you didn't take a loan, right? Well, you're gonna get like a 5% cap rate. Well, what does that mean? Well, to get $100,000, you're gonna have to invest $2 million. Like, how long would it take someone making $100,000 to invest $2 million after paying their cost of living and paying taxes? Like, you couldn't do it in 30 or 40 years. So there just really is no way to create the type of recurring income that you can get from this if you take advantage of it. Now, most people won't. That's fine. It's the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. If they only want to keep their eyes focused on the 30 to 90-day income, the transaction treadmill, that's fine. They can still do that, and they're going to save more and make more on the EXP model. But now they have this whole other opportunity, whether or not they choose to take advantage of it. And we don't push it, by the way. We don't push it on our team or in anyone in the group. Like, we give them training if they want to on how to recruit. I get on the calls if they book them with me, but we certainly never want to make anyone feel like they have to do it or that they're not doing their job if they don't do it. So we make it available. Sure. And that's just an option you don't have if you are at any other broker model. So I think overall for your individual agents, it's better training, better access to brokers. They're going to save money. They're going to get stock awards, and they have access to revenue share.
That's awesome. Now, it's been my experience for real estate agents. Like I said, most of them are not trying to grow a team or agent traction. They're just trying to grow their sales business. But it happens organically, doesn't it? I knew a gentleman. He was 23 years old, third year in the real estate business. Told his his father he wasn't interested in growing a team at all. He just wanted to sell more houses, but he got involved in the training. He got involved in the live events and just took action on the stuff that he learned. In his first year, went from 23 transactions to 60 transactions in his fourth year in the real estate business. But because he tripled his business, he organically had agents calling him saying, "What are you doing over there? I mean, you've tripled your business since, moving to EXP." And then he's had 9 people actually join his organization without him trying to attract people. He just did it organically because he tripled his business. And what's cool is those 9 people turned into over 200, and all he's doing is selling more houses.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, attraction through production is probably how they're gonna get started with it. There's probably not a lot of people that will go out and focus on this solely or even treat it as a side hustle, which I think if you're I always tell agents, I encourage them if they want, like, treat this as a side hustle, right? When I got into real estate, I had a full-time job for 6 months. I did both. Then my real estate business took off and I was able to focus on it. Well, what if for 2 years you could focus an extra 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week, and build this up to a thing that now makes selling an option? I'm not saying you're going to quit selling, but it's going to at least make it an option for you. And I think a lot of people could do that in 2 years if they treated it as a side hustle. But there's also, a lot of people that will just, if they increase their production, people are going to be attracted to that. Ask them what's up. Now they have a couple people under them. They start getting revenue share. Now it feels real. Now they focus on it more, and they never plan for that.
Right. That happens organically. Just one more question, Dan. As an independent broker owner yourself, what would you say to another, a broker owner out there that they have their own independent, they're happy, they got, team of 15 or 20 or whatever, well known in the market. Maybe they've had, decades of family oriented business. So, everyone knows her name, and this is their baby, right? I mean, just like yourself, you guys build this up, and they weren't really looking to make any change. What would you say to them as far as what you know now being on the inside?
Yeah, I think this is the best way to grow long term. So it is possible, and I don't know till I look at people's expenses and this and that, but it is possible for an independent broker owner that in the first year at EXP, they're gonna, because of the cap and all of that, they're gonna pay more than they get in rev share. But if they're bringing over 20 people within a couple years, I think for most people the difference is going to be like 10x greater in the favor of EXP. So if they can think a little bit beyond like making the move, which making the move is a pain no matter where you're moving from or to, right? It's just no one likes moving things, right? So making the move, if they can look beyond making the move in like that first year and have this longer vision, there's far more upside than any like short-term cap money or expenses. And there's also an exit plan, right? You don't really have that with a traditional brick and mortar. The multiples on selling them are terrible. They're unless you're one of the brick and mortar companies that makes people think that they're a technology company and you get a fancy IPO. Unless you do that, your multiple sucks. And I think a lot of people won't be fooled anymore on Wall Street by that move. So if you don't do this move and you someday want to retire, you're probably going to get like 1.5 to 2x on your income. So great, you've replaced your income for 2 years. Other than like making your kids take it over, like there's just not a good exit plan, and EXP gives you that. You can retire your rev share line. You can will it onto your kids. So I just think there's like way more upside, and like this is the only exit plan I saw for us long term.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time today, Dan, and get to know you a little bit better. I'm sure I'll see you in Orlando here in a couple of weeks at the Shareholder Summit. So looking forward to seeing you there. My last question I always ask people: if you're a book reader, what's your all-time favorite book that you'd like to recommend? Or if you're a movie watcher, what's the all-time movie that you'd like to recommend to the listeners?
All-time favorite book. That's well, I'll just give you one I'm reading now that I'm really enjoying. Okay. It's Jeb Blunt's book on fanatical prospecting.
Okay.
And I started reading that because I heard he's going to be at one of the EXP events in July, so I wanted to read that book, and thoroughly enjoying it. And it's something that anyone who's an agent or wants to focus on increasing sales, increasing recruiting, like you'll benefit from reading that book.
All right, awesome. Well, it's great. Again, thank you today for your time, Dan, and everyone for listening to the Financial Freedom Forever podcast. We'll see everyone next week. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Listen to what our business partners are saying about our FFF group.
Being a part of our 3Fs group with my luxury brand, to be able to go out there and know that we have such like-minded, amazing, dedicated, hardworking, and passionate people, that knowledge and that ability to be able to reach out and someone to answer within minutes of me having any questions that I might have has been just unbelievably amazing. And I'm so happy to be a part of this group.
What I love most about the Financial Freedom Forever group is the culture of helping and the amount of resources that are available out there for agents who want to grow their business. You can access 4 or 5 different training sessions per week is awesome.
I believe if you surround yourself with like-minded people that are doing 10 to 15, 20 times more than me and you put together, we all bring each other up and bring our businesses to the next level and our lives. To learn more about how to partner with us, go to partnerwithandre.com or click the link below, and let's have a conversation.